Hello and welcome to your Wednesday night podcast here on Four Lads Had a Dream. My name's Andrew and I'm joined tonight by two of my very favourite podders, Kenny and Robert, to discuss what in the end, probably after a night's reflection, we'd think of as a relatively comfortable game, but it certainly did not feel like that in the moment. Early Danilo goal that then left us with a whole 90 minutes afterwards to really stew in it and, hope that what we thought was the inevitable wouldn't happen. But luckily, Kenny, it didn't. Rangers easing their way to the 1-0 win.
That just feels massive for me. I don't know what you guys think, but I was on the edge of my seat for quite a while there. And when that penalty was given, I just had that sneaky feeling that he might save it. But also, given it, don't put that much into the game and come away with a point. I thought we actually probably merited the 3 points, guys, and relief, delight, 2 wins in a row. Who'd have thunk it? Absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? And I'm genuinely buzzing actually after that. I'm delighted.
Yeah, I think on balance, and like I say, if we have a nice sleep on it afterwards, we'll probably feel it was a little bit more comfortable than it was. And Hibs only got 3 shots on target, one of those which is a penalty, Rob. So I don't think it was like they were raining stuff onto us and we hung on by the skin of our teeth. I think it was more just we'd seen this movie so many times before and assumed that the worst was going to happen. But I think especially given that you just said that Connor Barron was having an absolutely brilliant game, there's moments before he gave away a penalty. It's a really well-won victory to have got there, right?
Absolutely. I think that was the commentator's curse coming home to roost there, wasn't it? It was severely bad timing. But I think for me, tonight was all about grit and determination. And it's something that this team have lacked. And I mentioned in the chat that if we are still managed by somebody who shall remain nameless, we don't win that game tonight. You know, there seems to that was just about rolling the sleeves up, doing the dirty stuff. Granted, there wasn't much from away in the way of attacking and flair football, but sometimes you've just got to grind results out. And ultimately, it's two games on the bounce that we've won. It's a clean sheet. Hurrah. When was the last time we had one of them? You know, it's
about
great
50
to see.
years ago, it feels like at this point, you know.
So I think for me it was just great, and Easter Road's a tough place to go. You know, they're unbeaten in 16 there. So for us to come away with a win is a massive result.
They were.
They were. But it should be a good boost for the players as well, to be honest, because it shows them, in picking up what Cornelius said during the pre-match press conferences, there seems to be a bit of togetherness there now, which is nice to see. You know, and ultimately, if your team's playing together and playing for each other, you're going to start to see a bit more fight, and that's what we need.
Yeah, I think that was very noticeable immediately after the match. You know, players go over to the crowd. Danny jumps over and has a little dance with his dad as well, which was very nice to see. But the manager made the point of pointing at the players. So, I mean, although his was the name that was getting sung after Danilo scores the goal, he is still in a position where he's giving credit to these players, because I've said it all along. I think that this squad of players are capable of much more than they have shown so far this season. I'm not saying that they're league winners or anything like that. I'm just saying that I think that they are better than they have shown so far. And this game reflects that, because a lineup, Kenny, I don't think too many of us were expecting. Tav dropping out, Giga coming back in out of nowhere, Danilo starting, switching to that 3 at the back formation, and really, I think being pragmatic almost, knowing how Hibs are going to line up, changing the way that we shape up to match them, looking like we came into the game with a plan. Again, this is a lot of stuff that we had not seen under the previous manager, but was really good to see, because it's the kind of thing that, although we had, assumed was the basics, we had not been doing. So it was really good to see that we came into this game with a plan. And certainly for that first sort of 25 minutes, I think we looked as good as we have done so far this season in terms of how we played, how we pressed, how we organised, and how we approached the game. Because Hibs were rattled in that first sort of 20-25 minutes. They have to make a substitution early on because of it, and I think they come back into the game afterwards. But certainly at the start of this game, we looked like we had a plan and we looked like we knew what we wanted to do. And you cannot say that about a lot of the games that we've had to talk about so far this season.
It's amazing what a half-decent head coach will do for you, isn't it? You just look at that, the start to the game, the first 15, 20 minutes, where we get the goal, we're pressing them. The press is as good as I've seen it in a long time. There's an organisation about us. There's, as you say, there's a pragmatism about us. We've matched up. We've actually turned around and said, right, okay, we think we've got better players than you. We'll match you up man for man. And we did really well in that first half. I just felt that it was one of those games that we know, everybody that's a Rangers fan knows, going to Easter Road, it's a tough gig. We all know it. It's a really tough venue. Better teams in this Rangers side have went there and get a scalping. So any win over there is a good one, right? But this, as I said at the start of the show, this just felt much bigger for me, for the manager more than anything else, for the new head coach to turn around and say, right, okay, this is probably the hardest, maybe with the exception of the Celtic game at home, perhaps. This is the toughest fixture we've had this season. Now, we've seen our results. So for the guy to go over there with basically no sessions under his belt, he's had 3 games in, 6 days. I mean, it's incredible to think that he's actually managed to set them up in a manner that, as you said, that Hibs, who haven't lost there for a year, by the way, it's a year, they didn't really know what to do with it. It's to the point, as you say, with David Gray, who I really think's a top coach. He's doing really well. He'll go far in the game, I think. He had to make that tactical switch. He had to take Cadden off, bring the other boy on, but he actually switched it about in the midfield and stuff like that, put extra body in there. So it shows you that if nothing else for me, that Danilo has had a look at them and said, right, I know what they're going to do and we'll need to match up. And as I say, I can't express this enough to you guys. I'm actually buzzing with that tonight because we've all been flattened this season. And to go there and a totally different game. But do you remember the game that Kamal Roof scored with a couple of minutes to go from a penalty a couple of seasons back? It just reminded me of that. It was just that kind of hugeness about it. And I'm buzzing. That's the only way I can explain it. I'm really happy that we've managed to get that win because it feels huge to me.
I think it goes back to something Stevie Smith said when he was in his presser about how things can turn quick at a club like Rangers, and that's the type of result that potentially can give the players a lot of confidence and build that togetherness that we're starting to see. So you're right, Kenny. For me, that is a cracking result. Great place to go and get the 3 points. I don't care what the performance was. If you're to say 1-0 from now until the end of the season, we'd all take it. So it's for Danny Rule, it's just all about getting wins at the moment, and that's he's delivered in the league 2 out of 2. We can't be unhappy with that. Sorry, Andrew.
No, it's quite right, Rob. It's one of the pods that I'm hosting, so it's never going to be organised or professional anyway. So don't worry about it. I think, as you say, 1-0's all the way. You're assuming we're getting like 26, 28 clean sheets. I'd happily take that. That'd be a miracle just in itself, let alone scoring goals as well. Yeah, it is only one game. I think it is important to stress that it's only one game, but it's the second league win of Danny Roll's career. It's one more than Russell Martin managed to get in the entire time that he has been here, or he has been here. And I think it sets us up quite nicely in that it takes us into third in the league as well. Hearts found a way to win, inevitably. The team across the other side of the city got a new manager bounce as well. How long that stays the case is going to be interesting. But certainly we know that they have a squad full of quality as well. We can't control either of these factors. We can't influence how they play. We cannot do anything about the points gap as it stands beyond what we can control. And that's winning games, chugging along, trying to keep these clean sheets, trying to get points on the board. Because we've not done that nearly enough so far this season. So stringing together 2 wins in a row is a good start. It's early doors for Danny Roll. I'm certainly not in a position where I'm going to say that he's the answer. I'm comfortable saying that he's been better than the previous head coach, but that's not exactly a high bar to clear. But what is the case is that Easter Road is always a tough place to go, as you said, Rob. It is notorious. Although we haven't lost there in a good long while, it has been a place where plenty of times we have gone and we have dropped points. Much better teams than this have gone to Easter Road and failed to come away with 3 points. So to do that and to do it early on, because as Kenny says, we've had very limited time in terms of training. It's been 3 games in 6 days. It's impressive on its own as a standalone result. So it's going to be interesting to see how we build on for that. Good thing is we don't have any particularly big games coming up to deal with, Rob.
No, we don't. But like Danny Rule said, it's step by step at the moment. All we can do is focus on the next game in front of us, and we've got a great chance to win the next game and get into the first, final of the season to be going for silverware. If that doesn't give this group of players some motivation or a carrot to go after, nothing ever will. And I think a little bit of quality with a ton of hard work would be enough to see us through that game. And all we've got to do is it's an old cliche. It is just going to literally be focusing on the next game, the next game, the next game. None of us are going to get too carried away about how we're going to go 15 games unbeaten and win and be scoring hundreds of goals. It is literally with where this group of players were, winning 2 league games in a row is an amazing achievement at the moment. Let's just focus on that and be happy and positive about that. Now, focus turns to Sunday. These are always games that the players should be up for anyway. Danny Rule's going to get his first taste of an old firm semi at Hampden, along with good old Scottish officiating at its best potentially, given previous experiences. But the players have just got to go out and continue working hard. I thought say Barron put in a shift there tonight alongside Raskin, who was a little bit disappointing. Didn't have the quality that we would normally see for him, and you can forgive them for the lack of quality tonight. The result was the most important thing, and Danny Rule hasn't had time to work on that kind of attacking play and getting the team into a position. His first job was, I need to stop the bleeding, and I've also got to start winning games. Now, the Brand game was really disappointing, but ultimately he's delivered 2 back-to-back league wins. He's got a 100% win record in the league, and he's doubled the tally that the previous manager had. So I think we're not looking for miracles. We're just looking for that to continue.
It was something we said plenty of times under the previous incumbent, Kenny, which was as long as we can see a plan, then whoever the head coach is will get themselves time to try and deliver it. As long as we can see what we're trying to build towards. And we've seen already elements of that pragmatism, elements of working towards a plan, trying to build towards something. Going to the three at the back, I think, Meg Homer has been, let's say, inconsistent so far this season. He's blown hot and cold, I think it's fair to say, but he had one of his best games for us, I think, in a Rangers shirt. Max Aarons, again, coming out of nowhere pretty much. Has barely featured. Obviously, had a small part to play in the weekend's game, but again, has come in from pretty much nowhere to starting. I was less impressed with him, but again, he had a role to play within that, and hey, he's part of a defense that just kept a clean sheet. So, what position have I got to criticize at that point? And Gigo as well, who I think has not featured nearly as much as he did in the first half of the first few games of this season. And I think it's fair to say he had looked questionable at times. And one wobble, I think, at the start aside, looked pretty solid for most of that game. So it's all of it is small things, but it's little building blocks slowly coming together. It's seeing little bits of work together and looking as though that's going to build towards something, which we did not see enough of under the previous incumbent. That's the thing that is really important for me to see, because it's not like we went there and we got lucky with a goal and then we hung on. It looked very much like we actually had a plan. It looked almost like the team had been coached, which was nice to see, Kenny.
I think he's had Sunday in mind when he's made so many changes. That would be my take on that. However, he's also said that he will utilise the entire squad. He wants to see what everybody can do. So Max Aarons coming back it was a little bit of a surprise, but when I seen the team lineup, but when I thought about it, I thought he's probably going to start Tavernier on Sunday, and Tavernier's 34 this week or next week, isn't he? So that'll be the reason for that. But for me, I agree with what Rob was saying. I thought Connor Barron was really good. I actually thought Nico Raskin come on to a game in the last half hour. Not so much on the ball, but off the ball. I thought his work rate was brilliant. I thought that Suter did well. And I've been critical of Suter this season, but I thought he did really well. But the one that stood out for me more than any was Chermiti tonight. I thought he was absolutely excellent. His work rate. Now, is he perfect? No. But the work rate was phenomenal, actually. He really did put a shift in. And Rob's kind of highlighted that as well, that you could see there was a little bit of unity. Something happened maybe about 15, 20 minutes to go in our penalty area. I don't know if you would have seen it, guys, but something happened with Nico Raskin, and there was, how many times have we watched this where something will happen to a Rangers player and no other Rangers player gets involved? They were all getting involved, and that was great to see for me. So whatever he's done in the week that he's been here, I don't know, because he's not been on the field, on the pitch with them very, very long at all, clearly. So it's been in-house, if you like, whatever he's done, and trying to get a message across that you're all going to have to work together. And I thought that was the first time this season. I thought there was shoots of it on Sunday against Kilmarnock, but I thought it was an easier game. I thought that was a tough game tonight, where Hibs were coming at us and they were physical, and we have managed to look organised for one of the first times this season, and we've looked as if we were a unit. All three separate parts of the team looked as if they were working in cohesion, if you like. Was it perfect? Nowhere near it. There's an awful lot of slack passes and stuff like that still going on. Attacking, we're not creating enough. We know this. But in terms of organisation, in terms of just working together and working your backsides off for the boy next to you, for your teammate, that's all you can hope for at this minute in time, until the boy gets a break somewhere about January, where he'll get one game a week where he can get on the coach, get on the pitch and coach them a little bit, because that's the way it's going to be from here on in. But as I say, for me, more than anything else, you're talking about the organisational skills and or the organisation of the team, and that's where I think whatever the message has been from Danny Rule and his staff, they're getting that across. And even guys like that come on tonight, like Tello Asgard, who's got that almost lackadaisical kind of style about him, was working his backside off, and it was good to see. And it was noticeable that he was working his backside off, running instantly the minute he gave the ball to somebody. He was away 20 yards in the other direction, getting into the correct space and stuff like that. So it's small growths and small shoots of growth and all that kind of thing, mate. But I'm quite impressed. I'm all in with Danny Role already. I think that's the way I would say it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been hurt before, Kenny. I think that's the problem. It's tempting to fall quickly, but I've been burned too many times, So I'm holding myself back just at the moment, just to see how things lie, See how we're doing this time next week, and I might have a slightly more optimistic frame of mind. We never can tell. Rob, I think it's worth talking about some of the subs and their impact, because Jenny McHomer, who I think, as I said earlier, had a really good first half for us, was probably the best player on the pitch, I think, at least in that first half for us. Gets the yellow card in the 30th minute, probably unjustly, I think. I think the Hibs players, looking for one there. He comes off at the end of that first half, and Tav comes on. What I want to do is talk through a lot of the subs, because I think it's interesting to see how and why some of these guys were used. Tav comes on for McComa, and that forces Aaron's out to the left. Not forces, but pushes Aaron's out to the left. Gassama comes on for Danilo, both at half time. How did you think that changed things in terms of how we shaped up in that second half?
So obviously it was a bit pushing Aaron's over to the left-hand side, kind of takes away the natural width that we had there in the balance that you've got with Magoma. And to be honest, I was looking forward to seeing Gassama coming on and maybe playing a little bit behind Chermiti, but he never really got into the game, I don't feel. And I think it passed by him. And it's probably because it was one of those games where it didn't play to his strengths. He's somebody that likes to get on the front foot, attacking players. He's a bit lightweight when it comes to people like Rocky Bashiri and stuff like that. So he's going to get bullied off the ball. You're not going to be expecting him to hold it up. And the only thing that I was worried about Tav coming on was, I think the change was made with Hibs' pace in mind, and the fact that Aaron's is probably a bit quicker, so you've got at least good pace in the wing back areas. That if Hibs did try to exploit it, they're going to be able to cover. Tav did okay up until the slip, and I think it was at that point everybody was like, "Oh no, here we go." But it also highlights. I mean, I think Dougie made a point in the comment in our chat about players need to get the bloody right studs for the surface that they're playing on, which is a big frustration. But I think it just wasn't Gassama's night. I think he was pretty poor. Yeah. I think it took away the relationship from Chermiti and Danilo, and Gassama didn't have that same link-up play with him, I felt. Again, the goal, Chermiti's kind of sclaffed it to Danilo. It's a great first touch, and what a finish into that bottom corner. Gassama just didn't have the same positioning to be in that space that Danilo was. So I think it'll be interesting to see how we set up at the weekend, because I don't think Gassama's done himself any favours, and it's whether you then stick Tav in at right centre half in place of Jiga and keep Aaron's on the right hand side. If we stick to the same shape, of course, because again, the one thing that I've been impressed with Rule about so far is the fact that he is quite open to change and focusing on how we can nullify the opposition. You know, he did it against Kelly. He spoke about wanting to have the extra man in defence to nullify their two and the runners from deep. Tonight again, he's spoken about the things that he's observed from Hibs, and that's the reason that he's made 5 changes to kind of nullify and put players in a position and in the team that he thinks is going to do the right job. So yeah, I think it didn't change as much because it was just all about riding out the storm and nullifying what Hibs were going to push at us, to be honest. So I don't think it really gave Gassama the chance to do much with the ball. But up until the slip, I thought Tav was fairly solid, shall we say.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment. And like, I'm not looking to criticize these players too heavily because they've just delivered something that I don't think we expected they would be able to do, based on the first sort of 8 games this season so far. Kenny, I think it's worth mentioning Jack Butland because this past weekend makes, I think, a fairly bad mistake for the goal we concede at the weekend. But tonight didn't have a massive amount to do, only 3 saves or 3 shots on target he faced during the game. But when the time comes, when he faces that penalty, as you say, you had the feeling beforehand that he was going to save it. I was more, this is it. Of course, we're going to lose now. It's all ruined forever. But I'm glad to see that your instincts were correct on that one. It was a fantastic save, and I think he helped manage the pace of the game as well, slowing things down when they needed to be slowed down. And I think his form so far this season has been much better than it has been, if we compare that to pretty much any time after his initial 6 months where he looked really good and then the England call-up got linked and he seemed to fall away. His level of performance has been very impressive for us this season, and I think is part of the reason why we are now sitting third, because we struggled through plenty of poor outfield team performances, and Butland was the only one who was keeping us in these games. If we can put together actual decent outfield performances, as well as having a good Jack Butland as well, sky's the limit, right?
He's been the shining light so far this season. I don't think there's any doubt in that, but he's managed to gain us a few points already. He's gained us 2 tonight because it's not a great penalty, but it's not a bad penalty. It's reasonably in the corner, and he's get out as quick as he can to save it. Noticeable that VAR was in an instant, wasn't it? We'll have a wee check at that. We know. And a quick word about John Beaton tonight. I don't know what you guys. I thought Beaton was horrific. Stop, everything. And there was so many times that he could have just let the play go because the advantage was there for either team, and these wee kind of picky fouls that he was stopping everything for. It's just, and then Mr. Shouty, wasn't he? The amount of times that somebody would question him and he'd start screeching in their faces, and you're like, what a way to referee. It's just pathetic. And it's just 2 teams going at it, I thought, and 2 teams trying to win a game. And you'll get fouls, but be a decent referee and allow that to flow. And that's why I thought the second half was so, bitty and stop-start. And it was down to him more than anything else, I thought. But on Jack Butland, the highest praise is going to come from me because he's not had anything to do for about 80 minutes there, put it that way, because the first 2 saves are in the first 5 minutes, I think. I think the first one's before we score, and I think the second one's almost immediately after we score, if I remember right. And he's had nothing really to do apart from that. So, a good save. And I don't even know what else to say about it, mate. He's just been doing it week in, week out. As you say, the first mistake he makes causes a goal. That's on Sunday. That's the kind of nature of a goalkeeper. When you make a bad mistake, it's going to cost you and it's going to get highlighted. But that's the first mistake he's made all season. So we'll forgive him because we won the game.
I loved the note that you sent, Kenny. 86 minutes. penalty Hibs, fucking saved. Super Jack Butland in goal. I
I tell
just
you
summed
what,
it up
Rob,
perfectly, mate.
I was more relieved to get the message from Kenny at half time with all of his first half notes, because I'm just very glad that someone was taking some notes for the pod.
It's the
Someone's got to
professional
be
he is.
professional, mate. Yeah.
Exactly. It's what we love to see. Yeah, quick word about Beaton. I think Hibs knew what they could get from him, because they decided to start going down for, I think, minimal contact. McHomer's one in particular, I think, is a very soft yellow card, and I think comes down to just, we need to level this up. We've effectively sent off one of the Hibs players because I yellow carded him, and now he's had to go off. So we'll have to even that up with another yellow card. And there was no flow to the game as a result of it. Constantly minimal contact going down, and it gets called back. And I mean, the home fans had plenty to complain about as well, in their own minds, about stuff that was going against them. So no one was happy as a result of it. Everyone was upset. And I know there's a school of thought that says, if you're making everyone upset, then obviously you're doing an unbiased job. But it can also be, you're just not that good. But that's all I want to say about it, because if I say any more, I'll get in trouble, and I don't want to do that. So, Rob, final thoughts on the game. I mean, it is only an initial step. It is only, early doors, let's say, for Danny Roll. But on the other hand, it's the first time in a long while that we've managed to string together 2 wins in a row, and definitely in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like we said before, you can start to see a little bit of togetherness in the team, which is great. I think there's also a potential partnership up top with the Portuguese Peter Crouch and the Brazilian Jermaine Defoe. Back to the Pompey days there, potentially for both of them. But it's just building blocks, and I think this is the thing that frustrates us from the summer, because ultimately we knew the fence needed sorted out, and that is the foundation that you build a team on. At least what we're beginning to see now is that we're nowhere near as wide open as we were in some of those games in the early season, when we were probably all tearing our hair out and hiding behind the back of the sofa watching some of those games. We're seeing a bit of fight in midfield. We do still have a little bit of flair with players like Mikey Moore and Gassama. And Moore, I thought, actually had a really good first half. Well, not really good, but he was working hard and he was trying to link up play. And it's better than we've seen. And we're by no means saying that this is a perfect Rangers performance. Is it? Hell, we want to see us creating a lot more chances. We want to see a bit more fast-flowing football. But we can only do that if we're not shipping goals and chances to the opposition. And I think that's what we need to. That's what we needed to sort out in 2 games. He seems to have been able to address those challenges pretty quickly. I think the biggest game of the season, and we've been saying it for a few weeks, is this one on Sunday. And ultimately, it's good to go in to that now on the back of 2 concurrent wins in the league, because the players haven't, felt that before. Danilo scored in 2 successive games as well, which is great. He's obviously a striker on form, and he's got a fairly decent record against them too. So for me, it was by no means perfect. It was great to see the heart, the desire, the fighting for each other, because that's what we've been crying out for a while for this team. And I'm positive that if Rule continues to work on that, we'll then start to see some of the attacking stuff clicking as well. And who knows, another Chimity goal at the weekend would be quite good.
I'd love to see that. I would love to see that. Appreciate that, Rob. Thanks, mate. Kenny, I know that you, Chris, and Stevie will probably talk about this a little bit more and then start to look forward to the weekend. But your final thoughts on the game tonight, mate? What do you take out of this one?
3 points, mate, and move on. It is that simple. Were we perfect? Nowhere near it. Did we just about deserve to win the game. Yeah, I think we probably shaded it. Again, as I say, more than anything else, we have to stop leaking the amount of goals we have been, and we have to make sure that we are hard to beat and that we actually start creating chances. So in terms of the marks out of 10 tonight, 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10 for me, mostly due to work rate, commitment for each other, and actually working as a team, which is the first time that I can honestly say that I genuinely feel that I've seen that this season, that they were working their asses off for each other. And for that alone, I think they deserve the 3 points, because under he who shall not be named, as Rob put it, we weren't going to get that. We just weren't going to get it. You could see we weren't getting it. There was no buy-in to it, and I think that's what has made me so positive tonight about just getting the 3 points. And as you say, not a perfect performance, not even a great performance, but the buy-in that Danny Rule seems to have got already in a week. You can see the potential that we have talked on here on this podcast all season about, that we genuinely do believe that the potential is there in an awful lot of these players. Not all the signings will work out, but some of them are clearly much, much better than they have been performing so far. So delighted is the way I'll put it. I am absolutely delighted with the 3 points tonight, because if I'm being honest, I wasn't 100% certain we would get them. And we did.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, Kenny. Like, we went into this maybe more in hope than expectation that we might get something out of this one. Certainly on the basis of our performances up to this point, I think it's fair to say that we would be sensible to expect that we wouldn't be getting 3 points out of it. So to have done that tonight, I think is a really good first step. And yeah, it's nice to come on and talk about a win. It's been so rare that we've been able to do that. So I'm happy that we get to do that as well. Gents, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Kenny, Rob, really appreciate you coming on, especially at this late hour. Folks, really appreciate you all joining us. Nearly 4,500 watching across Twitter, Facebook, and and YouTube as well. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. We truly appreciate it. I think we're up to 11,600 subscribers now on YouTube, 650 members as well. Your support continues to be amazing to me. Truly, truly appreciate it. Won't ever get tired and get sick of saying it. Thank you guys so much. Remember, if you do join up as a member, you get access to exclusive pods. We've got documentaries. We've got interviews with both the podders as well as you guys who are the members. And obviously, most importantly, you get to use the stickers as well. And we've got less nights like we've got with Kenny, and more happy days like there with Stevie. So, we can all feel happy about the way that things are going at the moment. As ever, folks, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sure that Four Lads will be back with you again. So until then, folks, bye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.